Millions of U.S. dollars given to 11 American universities who fund overtly anti-West ideologies. Joining me this morning with the latest details is CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski. Good morning. Welcome back to the National Desk. Adam, let's dig right into this. This report states that these universities received a total of $2.9 million for their Middle East Studies centers. There are 50 Middle East Studies centers currently at American universities. 11, though, I read, are actually designated as National Resource Centers, which provides these federal funds. So let's start with what the initial purpose was of these centers.
So in the 1950s, the United States, we faced a crisis. We didn't have language speakers. We didn't have the fundamental knowledge, the institutional knowledge to be able to engage with a variety of countries from across the world on the global stage. So we established these centers, and the centers were dedicated to economic and national security and languages and bringing us up to speed on these issues. What happened was by the 1980s, foreign governments realized the power of these college institutions, and they started to fund them. So Congress put a transparency rule into foreign government influence of these centers. The centers at these colleges and universities, they had to report foreign donations. They weren't doing it until 2019. The Trump administration jumped in and they said, hey, you need to report, and the universities actually back reported $6.5 billion. So there's been a lot of foreign money, a lot of foreign influence in these centers at colleges and universities.
Got it. So this was a Cold War era federal program designed, as you said, to bolster national security at the height of tension with the Soviet Union. But as you mentioned, it's veered far away from that. And according to this report by a senior research analyst, Neetu Arnold, now she's from the National Association of Scholars, a group that's uncovered that foreign influence, as you talked about, in American higher education. She's the one who is really the author of some of these reporting that we've seen here. Tell me what this group uncovered.
Well, she found that these centers have been hijacked by activists. And I want to point out three things that they teach nowadays. So number one, they teach that borders are immoral and they're pro illegal immigration. Number two, on Islamophobia. Sounds like you should certainly teach against it, right? But when taken to the extreme, for instance, on extreme terrorism, a nation like the United States can't even react to it because you're considered discriminatory and your actions are considered extreme. And the third issue there is that all of this is framed in a neo-Marxist teaching of colonialism versus indigenous people. So for instance, that hamstrings the West and our allies, for instance, Israel in the Middle East.
And I want to point out the 11 universities who each received $260,000 of taxpayer money. Columbia University, George Washington, Georgetown, Indiana University, NYU, University of Arizona, UCLA, University of Chicago, University of Illinois, University of Michigan, and UNC Duke University. They have a partnership there. How are these programs allowed to continue, Adam, with taxpayer dollars, and how should the government draw the line in deciding what is permissible?
Well, this is the real question. The critics say defund completely, and over the course of the last couple of decades, funding has been cut. On the other side of the issue, the universities say, hey, stay out of our business. This is academic freedom. So what we did at OpenTheBooks.com is we identified there are duplicative programs. For instance, in the Department of Education, there's actually programs already dedicated to foreign language learning. At the Pentagon, they already have a foreign language learning national security defense program. So there could be duplicate funding in the space.
And it's interesting to note that federal funding has already been substantially reduced for these centers because of scholars who've come forward, whistleblowers who say there is bias and a clear role that goes against the national security mission. And they're still asking, why should Americans be on the hook for that?
Well, look, the national debt, Jan, you know, it just crossed $31 trillion. So across the board, everything has to be on the table. Every program has to be justified, and every program has to be meeting clear metrics. And so, look, we did a report on U.S. foreign aid, and there was $50 billion a year. And if you do polling, the American people say the first cut should be to U.S. foreign aid. And now we see these centers on American soil where there's big foreign influence, and so maybe the first cuts start right there.
All right, founder of OpenTheBooks.com and CEO Adam Andrzejewski, we appreciate you joining us here on this Friday. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.